Get away from me, you motherfucker.
Why are you doing this to me? Or am I not living up to what I'm supposed to be? Why I am seething with this animosity? Oh, I think you owe me a great big apology. Why?
Welcome to Fright Night.
For real.
Yes, people. What's happening, my horror homies? I hope everyone is doing all right. I'm Vas, and I noticed I hadn't done a review on my channel since last year. So this is my non-spoiler review of the religious horror film, The Unholy. Not that one. That one. This is the 2021 horror film, The Unholy, starring Jeffrey Dean Morgan. It is produced by Sam Raimi's Ghost House Pictures, and it is based on the 1983 horror novel Shrine by James Herbert. So what's it about? The film kicks off in the mid-1800s. We witness a lady accused of witchcraft being burnt alive and hung on a tree next to a church. The townsfolk had bound her with a mask and trapped her spirit inside a doll. Fast forward to the present and we are introduced to Jerry Fenn, a disgraced journalist who had been caught fabricating stories. He's now scraping a living doing freelance work. He is sent to a small New England town to cover a story and finds himself at that same church. And in the field beside the church, he is drawn towards that same tree the witch was hung from.
Did you hear that?
Get over here!
He finds the doll, breaks it, and inadvertently releases the witch. Oopsie. This all happens within the first 10 minutes. Later that same night, he finds a deaf-mute girl in a trance at the foot of the same tree. The girl, Alice, is having visions of who she thinks is the Mother Mary, and suddenly Alice can hear and speak, and she gains the power to heal the sick if they pledge their belief in Mary. The tree becomes a shrine, a place of pilgrimage, and Alice a divine vessel. People flock to witness the miracle. The media and the Catholic Church descend upon the town to investigate if it is really a divine miracle. But at the same time, people start dying, and Jerry Fenn, who is in the middle of it all, discovers there is something very sinister and deadly behind these miraculous events. So what did I make of it? Firstly, the cast was good. I am not very familiar with Jeffrey Dean Morgan, except as Negan in The Walking Dead, and he was in that other not very good Ghost House Pictures release, The Possession, which came out in 2012. I liked him in this, he did a good job. The supporting cast has a couple of fab actors. I have always been a fan of the excellent William Sadler. He made an impression on me in films like Trespass, Demon Knight, and as Death in the Bill and Ted films. Carrie Elwes also has a part in this. The man is aging super gracefully. He looks the same as he did in Saw, and that was 2004. Anyway, he never fails to deliver. If anything, it's a shame their roles were not a bit more substantial. This film is jammed full with jump scares. And fair play, I jumped at a good few of them. I mean, a few proper gave me a fright, which I really enjoyed. So that is a positive. And it's even more impressive because there were some super corny horror scenes, stuff you have seen a million times. The story was interesting and I never got bored watching it, and overall I had a pretty good time. It's a good looking film, a very polished feel, and the sound design is effective, and the music was, well, while not memorable, very serviceable. In the first half of the film, the witch, she's pretty scary, if pretty derivative in the way she looks and moves. You don't get a real good look at her, her face is covered, and it's mostly fast cuts and glimpses of her in the background just out of focus, and that made for quite an unsettling effect. I did have some issues. The film had a distinct lack of atmosphere. I was never scared at any point in the film, and that lack of tone made the effective scenes and jump scares feel just a little bit empty. I can imagine on subsequent viewing, without having the element of surprise, those jump scares may fall pretty flat. Also, there was not really that much story and zero surprises. Everything unfolds in a very predictable way. You will find yourself a few beats ahead of the characters at all times, and you're waiting for the story to move on. Probably the biggest problem is in the second half, when we get to see more of the witch and we get a heavy and unwelcome dose of CGI. It's a big turn off, taking you right out the movie. Also, you never really get to know what is at stake if the witch succeeds in her plan. In the final act, we are supposed to be building up to this event that is being broadcast on air and online, but who actually is in danger and what was going to happen to them, it's just not clear. The story would have been better served if they milked the grave and terrible consequences that would occur if the witch's plan is successful. It's not even made clear what the witch is actually capable of. Her powers seem pretty arbitrary. In summary, the movie did okay and was decent, but it had potential to be a really outstanding horror film. In a bit I like to call should have let the vast man direct, let me tell you what I would have done to make The Unholy a top tier film. Firstly, there are a couple of really nice shots that are peppered sporadically in the film, but they're not really followed up. I would have extended those into stylish sequences to make them more memorable and to stimulate the audience's senses. Also, the film lacks set pieces. Instead of isolated boo moments, these would have felt more substantial if they were the climax of a steadily building, scary scenario. I would have made the witch far more malevolent and ferocious. There's a scene in the film where the witch is in a confession booth and the priest thinks it is just someone there to confess. She has a twee Irish accent, but when she reveals herself, you expect to turn into a horrifying and shocking moment, but it's so underwhelming and low effort, it's a wasted opportunity. I would have added more kills. The witch kills like 3 people, 2 of them in the climax, so why not have her off a few more people in maybe a fashion that they look like freak accidents or something? Lastly, I would have upped the pace of the film substantially. It's not a long film, an hour and 35 minutes without the credits, but because the second act is pretty much the characters in the movie catching up to where the audience already is in the story, the viewer has plenty of time to dwell on the faults I have already mentioned. Instead, I would have kept constant forward momentum, propelling the audience through the movie. Kinda like that film Darkness Falls from 2003. The witch in this and the Tooth Fairy are not too dissimilar, and that film has the same propensity for jump scares. But Darkness Falls races through at breakneck speed, so you don't have time to think about how ridiculous the whole thing is. Well, that's the review, guys. I will be rating The Unholy a solid C in my tier list. A decent first time watch, but may not hold up on repeat viewings. Leave me your thoughts in the comments if you have seen it, or will be watching it in the future, or are you gonna skip it? That's it from me. Thanks for watching. I will catch you guys on the flip-flop. And don't forget, horror lives matter. So long.
Some folks have a strange idea of entertainment.